Well, good evening. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see a nice crowd. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will have a moment of silence, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to face this projector up here. I need a motion to approve the amended agenda, please.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're on to public comments. We have a couple thank you notes and cards, and I will read them. Dear all, thank you so much for the wonderful personalized mug. I love it. It has been great working for the Knob-Noster School District for 27 years. Once a Panther, always a Panther. Jackie Blevins. Dear Board of Education, on behalf of my husband and our family, I would like to say thank you for the beautiful flower arrangements and for thinking of us when we lost my father-in-law. I am so blessed and honored to be part of this team. Sincere thanks, Brad and Tori Hunter. Dear NAT members, thank you so much for the wonderful insulated mug you gave me for my retirement. It was such an unexpected surprise when it showed up on my doorstep. And it, I can't read that word, touched my heart that you were thinking of me, though I am so far away. And it has my name on it. How cool is that? Best wishes for the new school year. Knob-Noster schools are very special places. Treasure them. Thank you again, Kelly Krause. Dr. Wheeler, our family would like to sincerely thank you for all of your moral support, your prayers, and for all the things you have done and continue to do to help us cope with our situation. We are very blessed to have so many friends praying and supporting us in so many ways. At first, I was a little uncertain as to what I actually needed to pray for. I now ask for strength, healing, and guidance. And most of all, whatever it is best for both Bill and Danny, whatever that might be. Thank you again, Dr. Wheeler. Knob-Noster is very blessed to have you and your family in both the school system and in the community. Sincerely, Willie Evers. And that was the correspondence to board.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's an exciting time to be a Panther as we look out with our UCM partners and our Whiteman Air Force Base partners and our All-Star Robotics coaches and students in the back row. We want to start out the meeting with a quick introduction of Colonel Nichols and his wife Michelle. We're so excited to have you guys with us and enjoy the change of command. We can't tell you how excited we are to get rid of Nuke and move on. He's been such a great partner, and we certainly look forward to our days ahead working with you and continuing on some great work. So I believe I don't know if you have any words to share. You can grab the microphone and put it if you like. But welcome.
Well, Dr. Wheeler, thank you for the kind introduction. It is really unbelievably awesome to be here at Whiteman Air Force Base and have the honor to lead the final night bomb. Michelle and I were just kind of discussing this. This is our 16th move. So we've been in a few different places across America. And I'll tell you, and actually across the cities too. What we do in the Air Force at our air bases and our Air Force bases does not happen without the support of the population of the cities that surround the bases. And we have never been assigned a white. So we're going to get to know you, and you're going to get to know us. And I know Nuke and Angel have done amazing things with the school. And what I can hope to offer you is, even though our kids are a little bit older, 23, 22, and 19, and they're certainly out of elementary school, is that we want to continue, what Nuke and Angel brought to the table. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. We are excited to be living in Missouri. Again, our first time, but this is a cool place. I'll tell you what, we are super impressed. And the mission, the important mission that we do out of Whiteman would absolutely collapse without the support of all of the surrounding communities. And most closely in proximity is not possible. So we don't know you yet. I know a few folks over the last couple of days that since the change of command. I look forward to, both of us look forward to working with you and meeting you and trying to help you out in any way we can. So thank you very much. You're welcome.
Next up, we have the University of Missouri Innovation Track Program. We have President Ambrose and his team here from UCM. And I believe you have a few words to share with the board, and then we can join with our team up here for the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding for an exciting new innovation track in cybersecurity. So welcome, and feel free to come forward. Sorry,
Good evening. And I too want to welcome Colonel Nichols and Michelle. I had to ask this question because we would have questioned his judgment. I thought tonight was his wedding, and it was actually last night. And there's sacrifice across all families and personnel. But no offense to any of us in education, but I thought if it was his anniversary and he was here with us on the school board tonight, maybe we need to talk to him a little bit. Right? But we've been anticipating tonight. There are many thank yous, Kelly, that we would like to give the board, because we've had partnerships with non-master schools, both on teacher preparation, and students who come from the community, who are part of our community, really since the inception of the university. But tonight we hope to do something very special for your students in ways that we know the world is changing. The Innovation Campus concept was really born out of the fact that college costs too much, it takes too long. Sometimes people wonder whether the outcomes of the college degree makes you competitive within this workforce. Increased $1 billion in student loan debt. Students have had to incur change. Our 7th school district in Summit to stand up a program which actually allows for students to cut the time in college to half, basically cut the costs down to a fraction of what it takes. But with 3-year paid internships allows them to have no student debt being for employment. We're in our second cohort, we graduated 2, 100% placement, 20-year-olds with average salaries now above $60,000. In 50 corporate partners we have across the region. Well, in Kansas City, there's density of both students and employers that can offer those 3-year paid internships. We knew that we were perhaps leaving students behind by virtue of only offering it to the urban poor and to the suburban populations surrounding Kansas City. And I'm joined tonight by our team, Dr. Deborah Curtis, the Chief Learning Officer, Dr. Laurel Hogue, who provides, I think, Kelly, you've been a product of that extended campus, the real-time education wherever and however it's needed, and then Cindy Cruz, who works aggressively at Real Credit. And it's really important that John's here tonight because of the work that Paul and Angel and you as a district to expand opportunities through the MSN grant, the expansion of AP credits, and then coupling that with dual credits. We have provided now to Warrensburg and some of our surrounding high schools, and tonight with this agreement to not Noster, to basically make available through dual credit AP offerings the opportunity for any young person to finish college in 2 years at any public university in the state of Missouri. So the transfer credits are available. We would love to have everyone become a Will and a Jenny, obviously, but sometimes students need to go away to college, and that transfer articulation is very important. But with the work of Dr. Wheeler and Michael and Connie, we are offering through the innovation track a new opportunity for a career pathway in cybersecurity. And with some partnerships that are really being stood up aggressively with the Missouri National Guard, think about the opportunity to be in the Missouri National Guard, be a student here at Mount Noster, gain all the credits required to accelerate at least 1, if not 2 years of college before you graduate from here at Mount Noster. And then we guarantee this slot as a cyber warrior with the Missouri National Guard, but also with the many partners. We have 30 of the top engineering firms in Kansas City say we'll hire every graduate each year. So there's 2 things that will happen tonight. One is to build on what you have done so aggressively with advanced placement and kind of dual enrollment and then dual credit that gives students a step ahead while they're still in high school. And at the same time, be very career specific in cybersecurity to be more aggressive in developing partnerships that do accelerate the pathway forward. And these partnerships were formed with one purpose in mind: putting your students in the very best competitive position they can, not only to leave college without debt, but be equipped to be very competitive with a very competitive workforce. And we're excited about this. The response of students, parents, the counselors, and your school leaders has been outstanding. And what it will allow for is for students moving into their freshman year. There's a great reason that we're in an elementary school tonight, because many of those seeds are planted here. Translate to middle school, because there is preparation that kind of gives you that leg up. And I know there's some kids on these competitive teams that are ready, right? I mean, they're equipped to do some things that we can't teach them. We're just going to help them to find that pathway forward and move ahead. So we're very grateful to be a partner. We're going to somewhat reshape the way kids think about college, give them every leg up to make it affordable and meaningful as well. And sure, you may have something you want to add, but it's been a great working partnership to get to this point.
It truly has, and we recognize what a great opportunity and luxury we have to have right here next door to our next door neighbors. So we're excited to move forward with this partnership. Later tonight, we are going to review our JROTC program, which next year will be implementing Cyber Patriot. So there are a lot of pieces that are coming together on this, with, as you mentioned, that advanced placement now with the cybersecurity track. And I'm excited for our students. This is, as I said, an exciting time, lots of synergy coming together to support not just the 2 out of 3 military connected students at Mount Noster, but 100% of our students, all students, and making sure that we open up those opportunities, fast track them to reach their goals. And one of the things that comes to mind is that old saying that a dollar saved is a whole lot more than a dollar earned. And that certainly the savings here in this program makes great common sense and opens up some fantastic avenues. So thank you. We're excited and ready to get it going.
Yeah, absolutely. That answer your questions that we're
Well, if I go back now and I redo that, can I take care of my student loan for there? Just asking.
Well, possibly. There's a lot of reward out there for staying in the education pipeline. Goal that we have, especially as Nichols and Michelle and other families have experienced. We'd like to create a network across global strike again, especially where these kind of credits transfer. Because if you're coming in your junior year of high school, you've got some of these things, or you transfer to your next assignment, you want to make sure students aren't losing. And that's one reason it's value add, not only to those dependents, but to all students. So we're very excited about the position.
Well, I know from the board, we just thank you for continuing to find ways to add to the partnership for, the Buffalo College here in Mount Munster. I know our kids only benefit from it, so thank you very much.
We're going to formally sign an MOU. So, Mike, are you going to join us and get our team, Laurel, Sam, service? John, do you want to join us?
Sure, love to. Sure.
Well, students are already doing well. The exciting part of this is students are ahead of us, right? So many of them are taking as much dual credit, much AP. They're trying to jumpstart as much as they can. What we're trying to do is really package that more aggressively, encourage. So it is effective. So we can take a picture first.
Right back up here.
So with that signing, I need a motion to approve that memorandum of understanding to develop cybersecurity innovation track for Mount Munster High School. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Up next, we have the Air Force JROTC program review.
So Dr. Wheeler, Ms. Davis, thank you for the opportunity to let you know what's going on with our program. These are the fundamental questions we'd like to answer during the briefing here. This has been updated. Farther away.
Mike.
There we go. This has been updated since we got back from our career, that's leadership course, which happened at Camp Clark at the Native Missouri, the 26th through the 31st of May. So as we're going through, please, if you have any questions, jump in. I believe this will be a dialogue, use a one-way feed. So slide please. This is our mission, not just for our unit, but the almost 900 Air Force JROTC units around the world. It's not just in the United States. We have them in Department of Defense schools overseas as well as Puerto Rico. But the two key words are character and service, and that's what we have focused in the 12 years of the program. The one thing I wanted to point out is there is a waiting list that's 242 schools who would like a program, and we just don't have the funding from Congress to do that. So I want us to realize how precious a resource it is to have an Air Force JROTC unit, because if something happened and we lost it, we may never get one again. The NDCC units, or National Defense Cadet Corps, those schools pay for everything. They pay all of the salary, all the uniforms, all of the curriculum, and they're actually at the top of that list of 242 schools
if a program folds, they would get first choice to come in. So you can see it's a long line to get back in. Just wanted to highlight in 2016, so these stats are a year old, over 1.6 million community service hours done by Air Force Junior ROTC cadets worldwide. You can also see this diversity statistics as well. And General Rand, who's down at Air Force Global Strike Command, moves to the Air Education and Training Command, which is where we fall in. That is just quoted at the bottom of how this affects lives and conservation. Slide please. So let's talk about our unit. If you see that Missouri 2005 too, it actually means something. The state of Missouri, in the year 2005, we were the second Air Force Junior ROTC unit to stand up. The first was actually the second one. So CMO 2005 too, that's what that means. So we've just completed our 12th year. In the area high schools, we roughly keep about 35 or 40% of our cadets are from Mount Monster, usually about half from Lawrenceburg, and the rest come from Lamont. That's one of both our strengths and challenges, and we'll talk about that later. We updated both cross-town agreements, which are signed between the principals of both Warrensburg and Mount Monster and Lamont. We had some language that had to change based on new guidance from our headquarters, and that's why we updated those. Those don't have to be done every year. It's only a change year. And then finally, we do generate some income for kids coming from the other schools. I think that's a positive for the program. Subjects. If you look here from our inception, the blue numbers are the total number of the cadets. And that first bar from 2005 to 2011 with Captain Dorsey and Senior Sergeant Manley, that's an average over those 6 years. We had about 42 cadets, non-roster only. We added Lamont in 2011, 2012, numbers went up, added Warrensburg 2012, 2013. And then Chief Gardner got here in 2013, 2014. You can see the jump. The orange numbers are what we have to report every October 10th. And that's what our budget, as far as what the Air Force gives us money-wise, is based on that number. The blue line is the total number of cadets that come through the program each year. So for example, this past school year, we had 158 cadets. But we issued uniforms to and try to get those uniforms back. The team only had 144. So that's the money that we got from the Air Force and the 3 different pots of money that we get. So as you can see, we've had pretty big growth. If we go to the next slide, we've averaged 11% growth over the last 4 years. So we're on a good glide path that's went up and down a little bit each year. The one part I wanted to highlight was from 2015-16 to this past year, we had an 85% retention rate in the first year of non-monster cadets. So that was very encouraging. We had roughly 20 first-year cadets year before last, and 17 of them stayed with us. So I was really proud of that growth, and most of those are staying with us again next year. So our numbers are constantly in flux, especially from Warrensburg, that you have students moving in and out of districts. We have some students that quite frankly self-eliminate. They either won't wear the uniform, they won't do physical training, or they spend more time suspended than in school. And because of our emphasis on character, they're not allowed to continue in the program. Any questions you have on that? So let's move on to Air Force recognition. What does our headquarters think about us? For 4 straight years, we've earned the Air Force Distinguished Unit Award. In 2013-14, we got with merit. We'll have the opportunity again next year when we are expected to earn that with merit. What does this do for us? First of all, not all the units get it. You have to meet the stated criteria. What it gives us, though, is every year, Connie Morris can sign a letter nominating up to 5 of our seniors from any of the schools to get a nomination to the United States Air Force Academy. And this year, we nominated both Caitlin Harvey and Austin Day. And Caitlin, both of them actually got the nominations from Congressman Hartzler. Caitlin Harvey matriculated and is going to the academy this summer. So that, when they ask, why does this matter? It's another opportunity for our kids to compete with something that's highly competitive. So community service, this is where we put our emphasis. We can emphasize academics more, we can emphasize cyber patriots, thug sport. There's a smorgasbord of things we can do, but you only have so much time. This is where we put our primary emphasis the 2 years that I've been with the program. As you can see, we weren't doing a lot in 2010, 2011. From 2011 to 2013, most of those community service hours were done during school. Starting when Chief Gardner got here, over 90% of our community service hours were done outside school hours. The ones that are during school hours will be, say, our Veterans Day ceremonies, and will be programmed during the school day. But over 90% are outside of school hours. And you can see, though, one of the challenges was as we got bigger, our enrollment started going up the last couple of years, our community service hours went down, but now they're back on the rise this year. We set a new record this year with 4,142 community service hours presented by our cadets. Very proud of them in doing that, and I think that ties right in with our character education mission. Slide, please. So when you look at numbers per cadet, you can see we went back up to almost 29 hours per cadet this year. By the way, to count the Air Force standing units, it requires 20 hours per cadet. So we've almost 50% higher than that. So what we've averaged over the last 4 years is 41 community service events and about 30 hours per cadet over the last 4 years. Last year, which was our lowest year, we were recognized as the top 5% of all 900 units with the Silver Star Community Service of Excellence Award as an additional ribbon for our top cadets in the community service we're able to earn. Okay. Next couple slides, just want to show some of our continuing partners. Here are the active Whiteman Air Force Base partners. And some of the events, just ones to highlight with the 442nd Fighter Wing, the A-10s every year in August, to help them do their family day. Our cadets set up, serve food, take care of the rides for the kids, and then help tear down so that the members of 442nd actually join in with their family. That's one of our highlights. Airman Leadership School consistently provides our judges. Every year we host a drill meet here in the elementary gym and the middle school gym, and that's where our judges come from. And then the last one I want to highlight is third from the bottom. Every year the Whites Club has a holiday bazaar here in the middle school gym and that's set up and tear down on the middle school. Any questions on this side? Please. So in the community, we go to the veterans home about 8 times a year. We try to every month. We don't usually go January and February because we don't want to share the germs and get the residents sick. But we go and visit with them. We've been there when residents have passed, and our cadets got to see the last honors. For them, as they go out, they actually kind of color guard and they their ranks. So it's kind of sobering to realize that the veterans will pass. A lot of them make very good friends from going year after year. Very strong partnership with VFW. They actually let us use their building at no cost for our military all every year. We have to pay for our trophies for our building. And we help them put the flags in the cemetery 2 times a year and have them clean Howard Deep. American Legion in Warrensburg is also very strong. They help us with trophies. And we help them with the military day and a couple of breakfasts every year we'll help them. And these are some of the others. The last slide you'll see highlights our food drive and how we help the Dotmaster Christmas store. And the bottom is all both officer and enlisted opportunities that we partner with. If you want to hit UCM, we had a couple of our cadets last year who got a Minimum scholarship. It was Aaron Adams and let's see his name, works at the Fridays. Anyway, we had 2 people got Minuteman scholarship that we commissioned in Missouri Guard, but they had a full ride at UCM and we went on the road to see them. So that would tie in with what we're doing with cyber security. We have 4 big events every year that are non-service related. We've done curriculum action trips the last 2 years. 2 years ago, we went to the National Gym of the United States Air Force in Ohio. So last year, we went to the United States Air Force Academy. We went from 62 cadets 2 years ago to 77 cadets this year. The district helped tremendously with buses and fuel. And the match pay for those, we just pay for the drivers and everything else. So thank you. That helped a lot this year. Actually, we built the last 2 years. Second thing is our military ball. We do this in March. It's a dining out type thing where you can invite other members that go to service dress. We have a formal program at dinner, and then afterwards it's dance. We have a phone booth, photo booth. We do that at the DFW here on Highway D. The third thing is our annual awards night. We do that every April. And all the awards that our cadets have won, we deliver. But we have national awards that are announced that night. We have about 350 people this year as far as family. Custodial staff at high school did a great job actually running tables for other schools. So we have enough seating. Slide, please. Here are all the folks who came to give national awards. I wanted to highlight about number 4, the ladies from the National Society of United States Scholars of 1812 come every year from Columbia. And Truth in Advertising, there's 3 that say they're from Kansas City. That's true, and it's the same person in all 3 organizations. So we presented for all of those. Slide, please. Our last on-service event is what we just completed our cadet leadership camp. I really hope we can continue doing this. This is a day and a half credit for elected credit. It's actual military training by National Guardsmen at Camp Clark. They're going from 5 in the morning till 10 at night every day. And you can see some of the pictures with the confidence course. This is actually a Humvee where it rolls over. They give them training, they strap them in, and it rolls over and they end up upside down and have to extract themselves. But 70% of the students who went this year were out of district. So we're getting summer school revenue from students from Warrensburg and Vermont, as well as them having great training. We had 30 cadets this year, slide please. And these are pictures from this year. We had a rappel tower, confidence course. This was part of the medical confidence course on the way. Slide please. So, I'm only the second sassy. We've got Colonel Mark Talley coming in to follow me. I think he's going to do a great job. He's going to spend a couple of days with us at Camp Clark. And then you've got Senior Master Sergeant Randy Johnson coming in at their 3rd ASI. Slide, please. And to finish up, our biggest challenge is one of our strengths. 3 different schools, 3 different calories, 3 different discipline policies, 3 different schedules, which is probably the most challenging. The only thing I really want to highlight there is we lost 33% of our contact hours with our Warrensburg students this year. They went from 100 minutes to 80 minutes, but then they started doing collaboration on 25 Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, they do collaboration, we only have them for 20 minutes. And they actually spend more time on the bus than coming over here, but that's what they're supposed to do. So if we can somehow get more FaceTime with them, that would be a positive. Second thing is we have the inspection coming up this year. We have that outstanding uniform merit. And finally, our Air Force funding is going to stay down because of sequestration. There were days that Captain Dorsey said they had more money they could spend. That's not the case. When we do our curriculum action trip, the vast majority of what pays that is fundraising and money on our cadets' pockets. So we use all the Air Force funding that we can for those trips, but it's still not, doesn't even pay for it. So, subject to your questions, that's what we are.
Well, I have 2.
Yes,
One,
ma'am.
my son did turn in all this stuff.
He did.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you.
The hardest part is when it's another school, Warrensburg or Lamont, it's usually Warrensburg because they're bigger. When someone leaves the district, suddenly doesn't tell the district, what can they do? They leave someplace, they get trained uniforms, so then we're out. The whole set of uniforms is about $600. That's, and you will have to replace that. We're getting extra money for it. So that is one of the challenges of having 3 districts. What's your second question?
And you said there's different disciplines.
From the districts. The 2
As
different
far as-
districts have different discipline handbooks, policies, guidelines. For example, when Warrensburg's coming over on their bus, they're still subject to their discipline within the Warrensburg district, not while they're at Mount Street. But say something happens on a trip, it's still up to the administration of that post-school.
So like,
if
so if they're on our bus and we're on a trip, they fall under,
they're with us on the trip, but when they get back, you know, because a
Oh, I
Warrensburg
see.
cadet, Mrs. Morris is not going to make a
I see.
decision, or Mr. Easter will have discipline of what happened on the trip. That's what, when they're with us, they are okay. We don't have to do that. Sorry.
no, that's,
Okay, see that.
yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Any other questions?
We were speaking earlier, you and I were, I see the Air Force requirements there. Do these young recruits, do they go out like on night navigation and things out at State Park? Or?
We have not done that. There is, there's a curriculum for survival, escape, resistance, evasion. I think Captain Dorsey taught that some before I was here. We have not taught that the last 2 years. And I think the Air Force is actually taking that curriculum out. So that's not an option. They did do land navigation, Camp Clark, but not. Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you for those community hours. Wow,
It's all.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's all the students and they want to do that. I just want to thank you all for the blessing of serving with you. senior aerospace science instructor the last 2 years. It's been both an honor and privilege. I look forward to continuing working with the district after this whole school year. And we're sure going to be around, and I'm glad to see you. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for your job well done. We appreciate last year's of service here, as well as the smooth transition into our next leadership, and certainly some big shoes to fill. So thank you.
I think Carlton Cat has been a good
And thank you for your service.
So just a couple of things. Obviously, the program speaks for itself, but the uniqueness of this program is where we, the fact that we bring in students from Lamont and Warrensburg into Nowbuster High School and connect them with our JROTC program. And as we look at the innovation track at UCM, we have a very similar mindset. Once we get it right for our students and get this established, we hope that we can maybe even partner that with our OTC program or our AP program, so that when they jump on the bus and come to Nowbuster High School, maybe they can take part in a couple of different options. So it will come back to partnerships with those districts surrounding Whiteman Air Force Base, surrounding Nowbuster, but I'd love to see that opportunity expand, and that's our intent. So I just wanted to piggyback that in. Thank you for doing a great job with with the program that connects us most closely with Whiteman Air Force Base. We were connected in many ways, but certainly this is one of the closest connections, and thereby it's very important. So I would look forward to what the future holds for the program. Thank you.
Hey, Olivia, it is Whiteman.
We have one to slide in. We have our robotics guys on the back, and I think they said they needed a couple minutes, something like that. So, Coach, Mrs. Adams, students, you guys are you have the floor.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
We just like to present these handmade plaques that we made in our shop. We made them ourselves. We machined out the 090 aluminum on our CNC router. We just like to present these plaques to the board for helping 6424 take flight. Thank you very much.
Very nice, thank you.
Well, Dr. Miller, on behalf of the team, we'd like to congratulate you with this plaque. And we graciously thank you.
We're so proud of you guys. I mean, exciting. You're a hard man to get around when you get to these things. But we are so proud of you guys, and this is exciting. And wow, thank you so much. This means a lot to us. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you to it.
We're looking forward to a great year 2. Year 1 was off the charts, and that year-end drive-up with General Herrensack was he's that guy. And we both agreed we were ready to sign up and go to the airport. So, everything was well, for those that were in attendance, it was a great event, and well deserved for a fantastic first year. So thank you guys for what you're doing, and we look forward to seeing what the challenge is for this year.
We know you guys are going to be doing it out of the water, but we're not going to say nothing.
Thanks for a job well done. Y'all are rock stars.
Thank God.
Do you guys have any events scheduled this summer?
We will be getting with the base at some point in time. We want to go over and do a little demo for the youth center over there because they are kicking off with Lego League. So we've been working with Ricky Brandenburg. They kind of scooped him up from us and have him heading up the program over there. So we're trying to figure out a date to get with them. We're also going to be getting with Sonic. Sonic has come on board right at the very end as one of our major sponsors. They helped us out with the fair, got us all sorts of balls and stuff. It was great. But we're going to actually have the robots delivering meals one evening over at Sonic. So hopefully you guys can all come out and hopefully get your meal all in one piece by a robot.
And shoot them out as part of.
Well, that's what we thought. I mean, just because you're
I don't think
here.
that'll end well. It's part of their Transformers promotion, so it meshes up really well. Have robots.
passion programs.
So I think that's our big ones for the summer, but right after school starts up in October, we will be going back to Cowtown. So I know some of you guys came up and saw us at Cowtown last year. If you haven't seen robots yet, Cowtown is the place to go. It's the most intimate setting you'll be at all year. It's fun, it's laid back, it doesn't count for anything, and everybody just has a great time. So a lot of fun. It's a preseason event using last year's equipment. So hopefully we're out there looking for another team that we can mentor a little bit in the surrounding area. I heard Clinton was maybe starting one back up, so I'm going to get with them and see if we can help them out, like Camden did for us.
Can I ask a question for the new guy in the room? What's Cowtown?
Cowtown is an off-season event up in the Summit, and they just do, it uses everything we had from last year, last year's robots, platforms, everything. It's just a way, I think, really, everybody uses it as a recruiting tool, because you get, right at the beginning of the school year, you get all those new students that are like, ooh, I don't know what this robot thing is. So it gets a chance for it's only a Friday evening, Saturday event, so it's a lot of fun. So hopefully we can see there.
I'd also like to say a great big thank you out there at White Bear Sports Base for all their support and partnership.
They have been great. I know we couldn't, well, I won't say couldn't, we would have muddled through it our best we could, but it was really, really helpful having them on board and having our back every step of the way, from mentors to facility to use and practice with. That's what a lot of teams run up against, is where do you practice? You have this huge field. I mean, unless we took all the stuff out of here, maybe, but that's about the only place you have to practice.
You can have next door, we don't do.
You don't do anything over there?
We can prove it.
Not so sure they like that.
So, Colonel, Mrs. Nichols, for you guys that don't know, Cowtown is held in Lee Summit, and they're, in Lee Summit, they're not a bunch of city slickers like we are here in Mount Monster. They're true hillbilly country.
Oh, yeah.
Well, right?
With
Is
their
that why they call it
wonderful
Cowtown?
Is Cowtown a term for Lee Summit, or a place in Lee Summit, or a nickname, or a joke, or what is it?
I was kind of being facetious, but because it's not exactly, yeah, it's pretty much the definition of suburban living. So anyway, but it works. We went last year, and great events, and you can make it up. It's nice, close, and convenient, and more. We got to go down in the pits and really interact with some of the other teammates, our team members. I have one request for the team students. This is very important. Coaches especially, Mrs. Gooding. My request for the summer is catch up on some sleep, because I know you're probably about
Yes. Amen.
but thank you guys for a job there. Well done.
Thank you.
It's gonna be hard act to follow from Gooding, but it's your turn.
I will try.
Kill it, man.
But I was actually going to start with an acknowledgement and a little bit of detail on the robotics event we did last week. General Harensack and General Tibbetts and Dr. Wheeler all had an opportunity to make some comments, and General Harensack got like $20 mentors, military challenge coin, but also all the students. And really, from an Air Force perspective of sponsoring FIRST Robotics writ large, to come in and use the relationship with Whiteman Air Force Base and the Mount Monster School District. The relationship that's formed over the last year is really the benchmark that he wants to get out to the rest of the Air Force. And his vision that every Air Force base and the associated high school, starting high school and then going down to the other elementary and middle schools, that every school has a robotics program, hopefully emulating the one we've developed here. So really happy with the way that event came off. Really appreciate all the support from the school district. And a big shout out to Dean Kamen, who obviously wasn't first, gave us a surprise video message for the kids and the base. Really great event. So it was fun. The other thing for the school board and for the parents coming up for our community to know, July is the start of our next big deployment cycle. We'll have about 300 airmen heading out the door starting next month. Which obviously will affect our students as we start the school year. There'll be a number of them that will be, either in a single parent home or potentially coming in or maybe being shipped out someplace else while a single parent is deployed. So just something that the score note pays attention to every cycle. This is our big lift. So we will be sending out, as I said, 300. Off of it, it's a little bit lower, it's 550 to 200 folks. So you'll see a lot of our airmen going ahead and up the road, primarily the Middle East, but we'll have some folks going to Africa and a few other airmen spots across the world. And then finally, I just again wanted to add, we're really excited with Colonel Nichols and Michelle coming on board. We were all very grateful to Joe Tibbetts and Angel's efforts with the school board and with the school district, what they've done. And having a new boss is always a challenge. We figure out what his desires are, but he absolutely is a big proponent of education, of our relationship with the district and with the community. So again, really happy to have them on board and know that the relationship will continue to be excellent. And I know that I will have the opportunity to continue to sit as a non-voting member on the board. So thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the Whiteman Air Force Base Community Partnership MOU. This is the first reading for discussion and information.
So there's about a 6 to 8 week old movement being led by Colonel Ely at Whiteman Air Force Base. And the goal of that is to look at opportunities to forge partnerships between Whiteman Air Force Base, the local community, and community agencies, school districts, in hope of finding unique and creative ways to ultimately stretch a dollar to better serve our people. One of the examples that came out of that, those groups and that mindset was the privatized base housing. And that was the example that was provided at the introductory meeting as a good way that people come together, find an opportunity, and come out with an end result that makes a lot of sense and works well for a lot of reasons. We are in the throes of working to investigate and just really get our heads together about what opportunities exist. And we do not have a defined end goal, but there are several ideas out there. The public privatized base housing really spurred the question of what kind of partnership might exist for the private sector to get engaged in the school setting. Is there an avenue there that makes sense and it gets to an end destination? So that's one that's on the top of my mind that we're investigating. But it could be sewer, water treatment was something that was mentioned within the city, as well as sharing of agencies, fire protection, some other pieces. So I just wanted the board to be aware that we're looking at this. We've had 2 meetings now, I believe, the third one coming up next week, which I unfortunately won't be able to attend, and then we'll carry on through the summer. But I wanted the board to be aware that we're looking for opportunities, and if you have any ideas or hear of anything, certainly send them our way, and we'll get those in the hopper. We appreciate Colonel Eaton's leadership on this, as well as the rest of the team, and hopefully we'll come up with some very good ideas.
Okay, thank you. Next up is principal and director's reports. They've been added to our agenda. If you've read them, do you have any questions on those? Next up is the MSBA report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of June. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at potential cuts to the Medicaid program and the impact those cuts might have on our schools. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed and sent to the Senate a health care bill that will result in significant cuts to public schools. The bill would change the way public schools receive Medicaid funds necessary to provide services to students with disabilities. Public schools throughout the nation receive about $4 billion a year in Medicaid funding. Schools in Missouri receive about $20 million a year, from what's called School District Administrative Claiming under Medicaid. Associate Executive Director for Student Services, Dr. Kim Ratcliffe, says cutting Medicaid funds would undermine the ability of public schools to meet the educational needs of students with disabilities. She says most people, including lawmakers, don't realize the extent of medical services being provided to students at school.
We provide one-on-one nurses, personal care attendants, we catheterize, we tube feed, we suction. We have children who've come on total life support to school. And so in order for us to be able to educate those children, these services need to be in place. And the provision that we've been given in the past has been that Medicaid dollars can be used to cover the medical cost of otherwise eligible children. And that's being threatened. If we lose that money, every public school within the state is going to feel the impact.
Ratcliffe oversees MSBA's Medicaid Consortium, a program that helps schools get the reimbursement to which they are entitled for providing services to students with disabilities. President Trump's proposed federal budget also calls for major cuts to Medicaid that will have an impact on local school district budgets. MSBA is sponsoring a visit to Washington, D.C. soon. It's an opportunity for board members to meet with members of our congressional delegation to discuss federal education issues that are important in public schools, including the Medicaid issue. That trip is scheduled for June 27th through 29th. Check the MSBA website for details if you're interested in making that trip to Washington, D.C. The 2017 regular session of the Missouri General Assembly has adjourned. The session was notable for issues that did not pass as much as for bills that did pass. Among those bills that did not pass was Senate Bill 313, tax credit voucher bill that contained numerous other provisions, including accreditation by school building rather than by school district. MSBA strongly opposed the bill since it would have provided taxpayer money to private schools that are not accountable to the public. MSBA Associate Executive Director for Advocacy, Mike Reed, says board members who contacted their legislators on the issue made a difference.
Membership getting up and saying that this is not good for our local districts. It's not good for the districts. This is again, it's a voucher bill without any overlooking and overseeing the amendments and laws. But that being said, we will see those bills again, perhaps shortly.
Another bill opposed by MSBA that did not pass would have expanded charter schools in the state. Legislators did approve a $48 million increase in the foundation formula funding, and the formula is fully funded under current law. While that's good news, Reed says school districts may not necessarily receive the full amount of state funding in the coming fiscal year due to the state's uncertain revenue picture. Registration for the 2017 MSBA Annual Conference in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators opens this month. This year's event is scheduled for October 5th through the 8th at the Lake of the Ozarks. We'll have another outstanding lineup of keynote speakers this year, including award-winning journalist Stone Phillips, who happens to be a Missouri Public School graduate, and Michelle Gay, the co-founder and executive director of Safe and Sound, a Sandy Hook initiative. The event also features more than 100 breakout sessions, all designed to improve the leadership skills of school board members and administrators. You can register for the annual conference on the MSBA website. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
All right. Next up is the superintendent report.
Okay, clearly we've had another busy but productive month in the school district. We are excited to end the school year with our baseball team heading over to the Final Four and had a fun community event block party to send them on their way. So kind of a fun way to wrap up the end of the year, even though school had just dismissed. We had summer school in session that first day, and we all went down to the four-way and sent them off. I think we've covered a lot of this, but we again have the innovation track with UCM. We're excited to have this cybersecurity pathway established and get that in front of our students. You heard about the event over at Admissions In last week. General Harringsack just came in, guest visit on video. We appreciate our board members that were able to make it out there and join us for that. Change of Plans was Friday, and I think General Tibbs actually got, I think we saw a tear. He got a little emotional, understandably, but we certainly appreciate him and wish him well, and I look forward to continuing our work with Colonel Nichols. Summer school wraps up on Friday. We're excited about that, and the parents who get to welcome their kids into summer, so we will send them off. We are trimming pretty well with our attendance. We did the financial incentives again this year, and looks like we're going to have quite a few students that had that perfect attendance. So we're excited to do that and extend their learning for another 19 days during summer school. I just wanted to send special thanks to President Davis as well as members of the board. A lot of people talk about doing things and kind of being progressive. This board is getting it done. You know that. You don't have to look around too far to see that there's a lot going on. In the midst of a lot of new things, a lot of change and progress, there are certainly other pieces that maybe don't get the attention that they need. So I appreciate the board bringing those issues forward. As you hear of things that may need some attention, bring those to us, and we want to be attentive to all aspects of our district. But things are going pretty well. Not a lot of conflict, a lot of progress, a lot of positive energy. So thank you to the board for your leadership in making this happen. Enrollment for the month. Mount High School was at 349 with a 95.39 attendance rate. Middle School 449 with 95.90 attendance. Mount Elementary 366 with 95.87. Whiteland 317, 95.21 for an overall enrollment of 1481, 95.59% attendance. So it looks like Mount Middle School at the top attendance, which we love because they carry such a large population. That building certainly helps out the bottom line. So congrats to the middle school and their students. Last up is financial reports. The month-ending balances, $12,436,322. Revenues to date, $14,661,990, which is 91.27% of anticipated. Expenditures were $13,360,006, which was 81.91% of budgeted at the end of May. Notable on our finances, as the board is aware, with some of the cuts that came out of the Trump administration already, Impact Aid lost some man hours, so they reported that some payments may be late. That means they may not be in by this fiscal year. So I want the board to be fully aware of what that means. It means that our in-year balances may look more upside down than they really are in reality, depending on when that payment comes in. So if it comes in on July 1st versus June 30th, it rolls into the books for next year. But as of this time, we expect that money will come in. The timing may be a little bit different, but I want the board to be aware of that. The update on that's old news. The update is I was talking with Waynesville this week, and we have been in contact with Impact Aid, asking about the heavily impacted payments. So we're hoping that they get that processed in the next 2 weeks so that it does report into this fiscal year. So we'll keep you posted on that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Okay, next up is a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a couple of questions. Have you reviewed all the policy?
Can we turn your
Have you reviewed all the policy updates and what are the impacts to budget and resources?
I have not fully reviewed all of those. I'm doing the first reading at this meeting, and I can report back estimated financial impacts at the second reading or in between. You have a specific.
I was reading through there and there's several of them that I feel like probably that affect the budget. Maybe not monetarily, but how you set up and use the budget, particularly with grants. There's a few on property and how to account for those items.
Okay. I will try to get an estimated any financial implications. I'll try to note those with that second reading, or like I said.
Any other discussion? And I'm looking for motions.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Under new business, we have approval of funds for board.
I make a motion we approve the bills for the board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up is 2017-18 meal prices. Need a motion to approve those as presented.
I have a question on that. I realize that we are second in the cohort of meal prices, and I don't understand why we are increasing it again this year. I read your letter and reason behind it, but I just really don't understand it, why we're so pricey already and why we have to continue on our escalation of those meal prices at this time.
Well, we are now tied for second in the cohort. Smithton has a lunch price of $2.45 at this time, this coming year. Which kind of shocks me. Smithton's not a real big community.
Are you looking for clarification? What?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I read this and I realize what you're saying, but I just don't understand why our escalation keeps going up. What is the difference between us and the rest of the cohort? Other than Lexington, who is at a much higher rate than we are.
Well, can I chime in
Sure.
And I'm not saying this nickel increase is gonna work. I mean, I'm not saying I'm for it or not, or against it. But I think one thing we have to look at is the number of schools in our district versus these other communities. You know, so when we have personnel in 4 different buildings serving a lunch program, the overall cost of the program is gonna be more expensive. We know that. One question I do have is, in trying to figure this out, and I forgot the numbers, how many lunches did we serve last year?
I think that was what we used one summer and regular term was like I want to say 159,000 lunches.
159,000 lunches times a nickel is what would that generate for a lunch program to consider we take it back in house?
I was anticipating,
That's $8,000.
yeah, I was anticipating maybe 10 grand. That doesn't include breakfast. That was lunches on the.
We're looking at the possibility of 10,000.
It's the board can, there's no requirement to do this. The state has set that equity tool calculator, and Ms. Freedom went through, plugged in the numbers, and it's the same as the last 4 years where it shoots out to increase by four odd cents. So we've gone up a nickel.
Let me ask you a question. What is the implication of what one is nickel raise this year, giving these parents a break? And looking at this again next year.
So as I understand it, in the district, this $2,900 was the amount that the district would have to pay to be in compliance with that requirement.
It's going to cost us about $3,000.
Well, we would pay $3,000, and then we would forego that income of 10-ish.
But,
I don't make the rules, I understand why it doesn't make any sense.
and this is going to be the standard. We can't raise it much to 2 or 3 cents. That's not around number that's going to go.
Well, what actually drives it? Isn't it the cost of what we spent on the lunches last year is what drives the cost of what you should raise it this year?
What we spend, what we are reimbursed, and,
So how do we know that was solid numbers from last year? Because Opal was ripping us off the whole time, so how do we base that on what Opal's numbers were compared to what we will actually spend this year?
I don't know that I have a response to that comment.
I mean, I realize it's only a nickel, but we've done it a nickel every year for the last 4 to 5 years. And I don't get it. There's nothing changing except the cost. Okay, food prices aren't going up. Nothing is changing other than our cost is going up. And I just don't understand that balanced against the other districts who are 30 cents, 25 cents lower than our costs. I can't see that, what makes that difference? That's what I don't understand.
Well, it's hard to justify that difference when you just got rid of a contract.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I don't know if basing it on the numbers from last year is an actual true weight of what we should increase it.
Yeah.
Is it? But I also understand that you said if we don't do it this year, that we may end up spending more in the next 2 years, a 10-cent increase. But I just wish there was some way to have a 1-year reprieve to get good solid numbers to see if that is an actuality, to where we're not going to be over $3 for a lunch program that we don't. But once you get it, I mean, can you get it back? I mean, can you lower the price? I mean, what?
We can do anything we want to do. We can set wherever they would like.
One thing I'm kind of lost at is, so it would cost us, we actually, first of all, we haven't raised it, so it's not going to cost us anything. We don't lose anything. But I'm losing the understanding part of the $2,900 on the state side. When we know a lot of other districts don't raise their lunch prices, how do they impact on that? You see what I'm getting at here? I mean, and here's the deal, is there's really no good argument for that, to try to say this is how it works. When we have contract in place. And we don't know, all we know is we don't raise any prices.
So,
I know $10,000 goes on a budget lunch program, but we're passing down to students.
we,
So
The recommendation obviously is consistent, as we know, with what we've done the last 3 or 4 years. The recommendation is based on the equity tool calculator provided by the state. So it was easy for me to bring forward that recommendation because there was a clear path to get there. That being said, I think there's valid points here. So if the board wants to reprieve that and leave the prices consistent, that's an option. If you want to drop the prices, that's an option. I would not recommend a drop, but $13,000 is not, that's not going to, if the board so chooses, that's not going to break the district any more than $17 for a parent whose kid eats every breakfast and every lunch every day. But if you know, it's the board's discretion on how you go forward.
What the need is a motion one way or another, either we're going to adopt it or not. I mean, I'll make what the rest of the board wants to do.
At the same time that I'm saying I don't think we should raise it, I don't want to next year come back and say, well, we need to go 10 cents. I mean, but.
That could be a possibility, or we could say 5 cents, either one.
Yeah, because I just really don't, I know what the state is basing it off of, but I just think that is all.
Yeah.
I really, and why is the milk prices going up? I mean, is it subsidies for milk, a higher subsidy for milk, or it just makes no sense.
Well, at this point, my biggest concern is that this program.
Well, I want it to be successful too, but I don't want us to be, I don't want us to be gouging parents and students when, and like I said, I know it's only a nickel. I've dropped nickels on the streets and picked up pennies and dropped pennies, but it's just that it's every year, it just keeps going up and up and up. Food quality went down, service went down, but our price went up.
But I agree with you. I don't think that next year saying, I don't think we can put it down.
But we'll have to address that next year and see how this first year goes with food service being announced.
Nickel this year, I don't know, get a nickel this year. Next year, that's even.
Okay, so I guess one of the first motions I would put out there would be a motion to keep the lunch prices for the 17-18 school year as they were for the 16-17 school year without the nickel increase.
Yeah, that's what I make a motion that we keep lunch prices as they are right now. A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Larry, were you for or opposed?
I'm still trying to decipher this. One thing that doesn't make sense is the kind of leads you to believe that the reduced lunches and things like that ought to be entered in there too, and I don't see that. Because
Those stay the same. I did not, those remain constant.
well, it says enter the paid prices and number of paid lunches sold at each price for October 2016. I didn't have a chance to look at this, so what is this saying in essence? What is this tool say?
That's the same question I had, because it makes no sense whatsoever on their calculations, and I just really didn't understand the calculation. Makes no sense. I guess it takes somebody a lot smarter than me to figure it out, but I know I could plug in the numbers and look at it, but it just made no sense whatsoever on why we should raise the price.
this is what I understand of the equity tool, but it's not the most straightforward. So I think what they're trying to accomplish in this is for the free and reduced meals, the state is going to subsidize back X amount of dollars per meal. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep equity with what we charge locally so that a full paid lunch generates the same type of income or it costs the same as what they're reimbursing us back, is the best that I can understand. So basically that's so if we get upside down where their reimbursement rate is higher than what we're charging locally, and don't ask me why there's a difference in districts. I don't understand exactly how that works, but for our district, they want to make sure that I guess that we're not giving away the free lunch on the cost of the free reduced lunch program and what they're paying into it. Does that make any sense at all? At least my explanation of that is that not the concept in general.
So they're gonna give us a nickel more this year, basically, is what they're saying. They're gonna spend a nickel more on each lunch this year than last year.
Correct.
In our district.
Correct.
And it's solely because they believe that it's gonna cost a nickel more per lunch in this area.
Yeah, but based on last year's contract.
Well, based on probably cost of food and just cost of production. That's the state's projection.
Yeah, we get we don't really get anything from the free reduced lunches. They send a check for, if there's 20 lunches, they send a check for 20 lunches, right? That cost. So it's more like a subsidy, I guess is what it would be. Well, they're saying, but that's where I'm confused. But if we could put out a lunch for $2, state, I'm just using numbers. If we could put out a lunch for $2, which I think it was, anyway, if we put out a lunch for $2. State says it should cost us $2.45 or $2.50. So the state sends $2.50 per lunch times X amount of free reduced lunches back to our treasury. But if we could put out a lunch cheaper than what they're thinking, that we could put it on based on last year's contract, which was, I in my mind was way too high. But if that balances out, then it's not a loss. But they're just basing it on last year's contract and the amount of, or are they going back 2 years, 3 years? I mean, what are they basing it off of? I went through this thing and it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever.
I don't know what they're basing it. I can't answer that either. I know that, I mean, it's obvious that if you're in St. Louis County, it's going to cost more to put a meal in front of a student than it does in Southern Missouri. So I think they use this as a way to try to balance out what they're going to subsidize for the lunch program. So the fact, again, I don't know how many years they go back, probably a rolling average of what is it costing, what's the program costing to produce X amount of total meals, and then run that through what's free, what's reduced, and what's full price. And when that spits out, that's how they come up with their cost.
But there was no increase.
Well, we did not increase, I chose not to increase that because 40 cents is, I mean, we're gonna pay 28 cents for milk, we know that.
And we really don't know what we're gonna pay for food yet, right? Because we haven't got anything back on the market basket assessments.
I have those back, but I can't tell you what, they're not, we won't know what our per meal cost is until we run through the program for a while. I mean, we do not price those out as what's this plate going to cost us, but what's the bulk food going to cost us? And that's how we get the competitive pricing.
When are we going to see those?
What's that?
When are we going to see those?
See the bids? My recommendation at this point is going to be to reject all bids again and not enter into a prime vendor contract so that we can assess who is offering best prices through competitive purchasing.
So Larry, on the table is 3 to keep the price the same and 3 to increase a nickel.
So the motion that's on is whether to increase the.
To keep the meal price the same as the 17-18. 3 are for that and 3 are against that.
No.
3 vote.
340. 340.
So he voted no. So then the next motion would be to approve the meal prices as presented, which is increased by a nickel. I said the next motion would be to approve the meal prices as presented, which would increase the meal price by a nickel. Need a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Larry, you were for? Yes, Larry was for. Yes.
Yes.
Well, I drove through Sonic today and grabbed lunch and did a chicken sandwich, about 5 tater tots and a drink that size, and it was $9.80. So I was hoping you wouldn't raise the lunch prices because it seems like a bargain to me. But even at a nickel, hopefully the food's going to be so good here that I can have 4 meals for the price of 1 Sonic. To the argument here, let's look at it next year. I mean, if we can drop it 25 cents, let's do it. I don't know that we'll be able to have that discussion, but if we can, by all means, we want to do that. So we'll look at that.
And I would understand that the milk went up to 28 cents from the lower price.
No, the milk price would be, the additional milk price would be 40 cents if they buy an additional. We're expecting our milk costs to be around 28 cents.
Okay, so we did go out for bids and Iowa and et cetera.
Correct.
And that was the prices that came back.
It is, we bid it 2 ways. One was a firm bid and one was escalating, being that I was the only qualified responder. It's going to be an easy choice. And they recommended we have kind of the negotiation discussion process after the bid, and they recommended that escalating price because they just said it's not going to move that much, which I always had escalated. So that's what we'll be doing.
And that's the same as what we've been receiving for service.
Yes, sir.
Daily delivery, they take back credit.
Yes, sir. Full service. credits on the yards. Okay.
Okay, next up for new business, this is discussion and for information, is the Lawrenceburg Area Career Center overview.
We had a request from a member of the board last meeting to provide an overview of Whiteman Area Career Center. I provided that overview for the board to review as well as the enrollment process. I think the question mainly stemmed on the enrollment process. So I'm going to kind of talk about that, and we can go through the programs if you would like. This is the application for admission that is produced by the VACC. This goes back to the local counselors and administration. Parents fill this out through the application, parent signs. Then you have an entrance and evaluation recommendation form. So this is where school counselors and administrators go through. They will fill this out. Most of this is straightforward, objective information. When you get to this page, you get into a subjective, well, let's kind of go through this. Attendance is an objective criteria, tardies, objective, overall math credits, objective, English, objective, overall GPA, objective, disciplinary infractions by count is objective, truancies is an objective piece. Does the student meet prerequisites? That's objective. Does this program fit within the student's career goals? There may be some discretion there, but that should be pretty objective if the student knows what they want to do. And then this part is, do you consider the program indicated to be a realistic choice in view of all of this? And that's the subjectivities, where counselors will look at this data and say, recommend, do not recommend, or highly recommend. So there's a lot of objectivity, but at the bottom, if you look at that bottom line, it's subjective. And I think there's discretion, because I think the hard part is you may see a student who may not be, by the criteria, may not be the person to put in the program, but if you know the kid, and you know what motivates them and what would be good for them, and I think there's some discretion there. So that is the criteria. I talked with Rusty Stroke, who is the director of the Career Center, and in a prior district of mine, the number of students we sent was based on our payment. So if we sent 15 students this year, next year they would bill us for 15, and we could send more than that, but it was kind of a paid in arrears payment. So we always had that opportunity to move that up, and here it's a little bit different. He said that we cannot necessarily, if we have 50 kids, the way the program is set up, we cannot buy or pay for 50 slots and send them. So it's based on their course size and them serving, and they said that they will rank the student entrance based on this rubric. At this point, there are two enrollments. We do the enrollment in the spring as we set schedules, and then based on summer drops, there's a secondary enrollment that can happen in August at the start of the year.
So what is our student intake down there at this point?
Is it true? I wanted to say 22. I would have to find out. Is it 15?
Well, the only issue I have with it is that, I mean, I understand what this is projecting. But if and I realize the last line, you consider programming a realistic choice to view the student's past history and future career plans. If we have a student that is really not going to go to college, we know that student's not going to go to college. and he's being eliminated from this program. And I understand the tardies, the overall math grades, blah, 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 and all of that, and I realize there's a percentage points and so forth, but I would hope that the counselors would look at this a little harder than letting them have their minds made up by the top indicators on this. We have someone we know is going to college, and they're just using this for a filler. To me, that's unfair to that person that we know is more than likely not going to go to college. And this may be their niche in life and what they want to do. And if we're holding them back from that, I feel that's an injustice to that student. I know it's not my position to make those recommendations, but I would think that that should be looked at a little harder and with a little bit more consideration in place, because I know 3 students right now that were turned out, and I don't think either, well, I know for sure none of those 3 are going to college, and this is what they want to do.
Well, you know, Mr. Padilla, when I look at the VOTEC program, I look at that as kids that are going straight to the workforce. You know, that's what these programs are there to prepare these kids for. Not for your typical kid that's going to move on to college or some university or something like that. One issue I do have is, you know, our VOTEC program, the kids eat lunch and then the bus leaves at 11:30. So when you talk about the attendance or the tardies, especially on the tardy side, you know, this is up to the discretion of our counselors. I'm not so sure, you know, there should be some room to work with on the counselor side, because if you know that that kid doesn't want to do math or English and is not going to college and plans on going, you know, basically straight into the workforce, then VOTEC would be the place for them. One of my concerns is that we don't have that VOTEC bus nearly as full as we used to have it. From communication from the folks in Warrensburg and our own counselors, it seems to me that we've lost a lot of our possible positions, or we pay a lot less than what we used to, because Kingsville and some of these other schools have so many more students attending. I do realize that the VOTEC program only has in certain classes, based on classroom size, room for so many kids. But I want to know how we got to the point where we have so few students going in our district, as probably opposed to other districts out there in today's world. When 20 years ago, our VOTEC bus was really full, but classroom size was different. So, but I think that the VOTEC program is designed for the kid that isn't going to further his education anytime soon after high school.
So, again, I talked to the director, Rusty Spro, and I kind of made that argument, and the response I got back was, we have accountability on our students' performance, and if we admit students that have demonstrated that they're unlikely to perform well, then he said if they don't finish their completers, then they lose funding. So they're trying to, you know, they're trying to make sure that they, on the spots that they do have available, that they put based on student history of performance, they put the students that are most likely and probable to have those completers.
Well, so let me ask you this question, because I am the person that had this put on the agenda, we know that. And, you know, but how does my oldest son get into VOTEC? Based on his grade, his attendance, his target, and my second son not get into VOTEC, along with the 2 other kids that Mr. Padilla knows from. I only know 2, he knows 3. How does that happen? I got one way that's not any better than the other. I mean, as far as what, their ability to run school. We can talk about this later. There's 3 kids that we know of, and how many more are out there that did not get in the program?
Once again, I would hope that the counselors are using good judgment on who they're selecting based on knowing the student, knowing what they're going to do. I understand that man's position there, even though we're paying bills over there for that school to stay operating. But I understand his position. Position I might not understand is the position of our counselors on their selection process. I don't know the whole story behind who got to go, who didn't get to go. I just know that there's some unhappy people, and there's been no real explanation other than this of how they're selected. So I mean, it's discretionary on behalf of the counselor, and by no means I'm saying that they're not doing their job. I'm just saying that I would hope that they would just use a little bit more discretion on their selection, on knowing the students.
Right. And if you look at this rubric, the fact that it's laid out this way, that the student falls here on all categories, if you get to the bottom, I mean, it's in the same column on this discretionary piece. So it's almost, unless there's a really good reason, if you're falling on average in this column or this one, that's where you're going to land. In fact, I find it odd that there's no category here. But that being said, I will pull all of these on all students that were admitted, and I'll ask Warrensburg Area Career Center to provide us a historical enrollment from Knob-Nuster, and we'll see. Could I trump this and put highly recommended and full rank? I could, but I don't know that solves the problem.
No.
But what I can do is I can say this very, very easily. We have 3 kids or 5 or 10 or 1 that is tracking for a technical certification or degree, and we're not providing that opportunity, then we're failing. So maybe we need to look at Sedalia, or maybe we need to look at Clinton, or maybe we need to look at other options where we will at least find a way to give those kids the opportunity to either do it or not do it, but we're not depriving them of that. So if the board is not opposed to that, then I can get creative and start trying to find a place where we can get to yes for these kids.
Well, that was going to be you kind of read through my mind there. That was going to be my next question. Have you considered Sedalia's Career Center for?
The thought crossed my mind. So as Clinton's not out of the question either.
And that's kind of far, but I mean, I guess we can do it, but.
I just have a question, Dr. Wheeler, I could get clarification, and I wasn't here last month, which just brought up. So you just walked us through the objective portion of this with the one subjective row at the bottom. So what happens with that score then once it's calculated? Now, is there then a corresponding matrix that says if you score this range, you either do or don't do? Or are the kids then racked and stacked based on their scores and cut off the line?
As I understand it, they're racked and stacked.
Well,
And there's a waiting list based on the program of interest.
I don't know this to be true or not, but my son comes home and he tells me, Dad, how did so-and-so get in there? If he got 2 F's and failed 2 of his classes and I passed on mine. Well, son, I don't know what you're talking. You must have done something else wrong. And that's targeting.
I had one little bit of information that pertains. I had a father explain to me that his son didn't get into the welding department, and so very applicable, to the lifestyle. because his son told somebody or made it clear on the entry exam that he was not going to a technical college program after high school. And everyone else that got chosen that he knew would get that work. That kind of makes a little sense, but it's sad that a student who will use those expertise his entire life isn't able to get to that class. So would State Fair's welding program be available to high school students?
Yeah, we partner with them in, for our A+. I don't know why we couldn't also pursue a partnership in their technical schools if we have the students that are interested in it. I don't know why we couldn't pursue that to fulfill I feel is our obligation to try to get these students to where they need to be.
That's not to say that UCF doesn't have an industrial art program also, but State Fair comes to mind because they have an excellent facility.
But you talk about welding, and this kind of land being turned out for welding, well, they're a farm, if they farm, Tom, that's just as important career as anybody else.
Same thing in any profession.
So-
in any field that any kid wants, any student wants to happen in any, not just welding, I just use that as an example because that's a very common. When I was in high school, everybody signed up for it.
So-
And half of them didn't get it.
Is the board okay with us looking at other options and maybe being a little bit more untraditional and trying to find replacements? Is there any opposition to that?
I would think that it's an obligation of ours to do that. Rather than going with, we gotta keep that, stay inside the box. If we can fulfill our obligation, get these students educated, if we have to go elsewhere, I mean, we just did it with UCM. Why can't we do it with Fidelia?
Okay, so I think we got to the root of the issue here. Is anyone interested in the overview of the programs at WACC or leave that as submitted? Okay. I'm going to go ahead. My first call is going to let WACC know that we're going to explore other options for placement of those students. So
We might perhaps confirm that we still have the interest in all of that expense.
It'll feel.
Okay, under old business, we have the budget approval. This was the third reading. So the motion out there is to approve the 17-18 budget as presented.
So this budget is an increase of about $140,000. That change was made to represent what we anticipate as the increased cost of the food service program. Otherwise, it remains as presented to the board prior.
So, I have a couple of questions here. The revenues were increased from last year's working budget. You know where you increased those and why?
The FY16 was increased, the revenues were increased.
17-18 is increased by $250,000.
Overpayment, or not overpayment, but the late payment on the impact that we had one come in late that was in arrears. Is that because of that?
You're asking, well, let me make sure I understand.
So anticipated revenues for next year are more than they are this year. even though we're sitting, what I would consider way down 14 as opposed to 16, which we know is basically a single impact aid, which is, I think, supposed to be 1.8 to $2 million. I think if I look back, it's supposed to be in that range. So I think we're tracking, if that comes in this month, we're still tracking less than what we anticipated. And we've increased that going forward. But what I've also heard is our ADA has been declining in the last few years, and that directly affects the impact aid. So I don't know, trying to understand why it went up when we're trending down.
In the, I would probably pull to this slide on the impact aid, is this, so this, this is probably more conservative for this year than what I am realistically anticipating in working days to receive. So I'm probably, hopefully, this will be more realistic of what we will actually receive, if that makes sense. Now, what could happen is we, as you know, this is going to drop down significantly for this year, and it be proportionally increased for next year. But it's said differently. Waynesville every year budgets X amount of dollars on their impact aid, which they know they're going to receive far more than that. And then when they get that, it goes into Florida. So it's conservative budgeting is what I'm hoping. And this is a little less conservative on revenues. There.
My only concern is we've been making some decisions on the expenditure side, and I don't. It concerns me that we're bumping that up with downward ADA, thinking of our expenses are trending up. I don't want the perception that we're increasing that just to cover our expenses that we've been increasing due to adding programs, salaries, that sort of thing. And another, on the flip side of that, our expenses are projected to be less next year than this year. That kind of threw me for a little, also knowing we've had several things. I know we had, I think it was $4 million in salary increases, but yet our expenses came down. To me makes no sense.
There were some expenses, obviously, this year. We did a lot with technology. We did the buses. We did the.
Were they budgeted for?
Some of them.
And so I'm looking at budgeted last year to budgeted this year. Because I don't think you rolled actuals into budgeted yet.
Correct.
And whenever we did the amendment, I don't think you increased like the buses and the computer buys. I don't know that they got realized into the budget, or they showing those as overages. As expected.
So what we will do, we've amended to actual for the FY17 budget, Once we close the books up, then I will look at the actuals of where we landed this year, take out the variable spending, and then I'll use that to make the first revision to the budget for probably September or October. So there will be some room there.
It just seems like we're happening after the fact. I feel like that should have happened for today's budget, so we kind of know where we're going into the next school year. Not that, and we've talked about this, and how the percent is very misleading, both on the revenue side and the expenditure side, because it's not a linear trend line on either side of that, right? And in order for an evaluation tool, you basically need to baseline each one of those to what you expect to see. That way you know whether we're on track or you're under or over, which I feel is probably one of the most important things that we need to do as a group to chart that.
That's kind of hard to do, you know, I mean, when there's so many unknown factors, they're not understanding you right. You know, like how much we're gonna get an impact aid, when we're gonna get it. Is it gonna be the, you know, the end of this fiscal year for the school, or is it going to be at the beginning? Or how much are we gonna get of revenue, when are we gonna get that?
Yes or no, we're doing it now. We're anticipating that. And I think he's got a pretty good idea of when those come in. I think one of them came in December, January timeframe, and the other one comes in June. You know when your local tax number comes in, that's in January. And if your major things, I think you know. You get a monthly or the state based on the funding pool. So I don't think it's that ambiguous. I think we do know historically when we get the money. And I don't think it's that.
Well, you know, and I understand what Cody's saying on the revenue side. And I realize that for people on this board for several years, that on the expenditure side, there's a lot of unforeseen. You know, you get situations where one month, you know, somebody makes a request that we need X number of dollars, $100,000 worth of computers, buses, which weren't in the previous budget. So, you know, I see what you're saying when you talk about here's our revenue, here's our expenditures for you know, fiscal years 17, 18, and those numbers look relatively low, and then we get to December and we're buying computers, we're buying buses, and now we're way over what the projections. We're in excess of what the projections were when we were handling that. But see, you understand what I'm saying?
I get the one-offs, but
the one-offs add up to a lot of money.
Yes and no. The lion's share of our budget is relatively linear until the last month. Because 90% or so of our budget is salaries.
That's correct.
And so that's very easy to forecast.
Well, that is, you know, but you like, didn't we forecast the part where we've given all these raises and salary increases, insurance, all of that?
I think,
I don't know that.
well, the one thing that we talked, well, I met with Mr. and discuss this. And one of the things that we'll add is the revenue by source and pull this historical data that we pulled here back to 01, 02. This didn't exist. So what I try to do is go back as a yearly snapshot and try to pull trend data that can help me see and make sense of where we're upside down or right side up from an overarching view. So that helps us. These numbers are all pulled from, OPA helped me pull these numbers. I mean, I got them from the ASBR, which is our end of the year book report, sorry. Nobody laughed though. I wish that was a good joke. Anyway, this is the trend data that I really was leaning on. But the revenue by source is important too, because that can show us, where our changes are. And then we do the linear projections on salaries. That's pretty easy for annualized 12-month teachers. I think we can do that. The revenues are going to be, there are some predictables in there. As we talked, the issue is if impact aid doesn't come in when expected, it's not going to be linear. Even the state payments aren't always linear, but we can try to get some trend data.
I guess my point is, with the bank account we have today, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
We can take those peaks and valleys, but I'm concerned that we won't see a deeper peak or valley in the future that we're not looking for them. And in order to look for them, we've got to have the baselines. And we've talked, it's not something that we need to necessarily track on a monthly necessarily, but I do believe quarterly, I believe quarterly is probably the right snapshot to take, but that concerns me, especially as we go forward, to realize one thing I want to do is learn from what has happened 3 to 4 years ago, and be able to catch that early and be able to manage that process through that. Because we've had a lot of things, right, and now here we are adding most of them right back in, and I think, hopefully we can take that information, learn from it, assess that on a regular basis, and make sure that we don't make any rash decisions. And I'm not insinuating they did back then, it's just as a tool to use to manage the budget. I mean, we've identified, the expenses really concern me because we know we increased school lunches by almost $150,000, but yet our expenses went down 80,000. That is a very concerning thing, but there's nothing I believe we can do today in order to address that.
So to get the revenue trend lines, I would pull that at month end, the first quarter, second quarter, third, fourth, and we could probably be able to do that for the last 2 years. Since we've been on this system, I would have a hard time going back further than that. But we could pull those data points for the last 2 years, and then with that on revenues, is that total revenues, or divide that down by source? And
part of my point is we need to look at it, but I want to make sure I stay out of the details. It's a management tool that administration will use and can use to project that. So I don't want to dictate that. Because it just becomes a report that you're having to run for somebody else. And not a thought process to go through to make sure, are we tracking or are we not tracking as a district? That's the thought process. I would, that's what I want to get every quarter, whatever that interval is.
Okay.
So whatever is sustainable on your side, I would like to know that.
Okay.
I don't want you to run the report just for me, because there's no thought process there.
Right.
Well, one of the questions I have is, you know, given the fact that this budget's fluid, and you look at these expenditures, and looking back in the past, a lot of that work meetings have spent $200,000 on books and computers at one time. You know? So if your forecast for expenditures is a certain spot per quarter, then how do you gauge spending this kind of money? See what I'm saying? How do you, you know, if you say, well, this is what we're budgeting for our expenditures, but we just spent $200,000 on board. Where do you factor that in? You did.
So the question comes down to whether, again, it's a tool to use, and you make sure that stuff is in the current year budget, and you've got basically a placement curve or a burn rate on certain things. What you're calling for are really one-offs that I think whenever you see the numbers, you're not even going to see those little blips. You're going to see blips that are $500,000 because of the salaries that we pay on a monthly basis. You're not going to see those. What you're going to see is month by month, quarter by quarter, whether that trend line is parallel or diverging from that line. That's what's going to tell you whether either your estimate for the next year is right, or we blew our budget and we didn't anticipate that for some reason. Whether we pulled forward $150,000 worth of computers, which happened, which is fine. But as long as you know how that affects, and that is very explainable. My next comment is, I think you'll go back and you'll look at the policies that we just approved, and there are accountings for federal monies and grants and reporting requirements for those. Just glancing through, I couldn't search or anything, but no, we just got a federal grant. The NIMSY grant is that federal money. Yes. So special requirements now are on you. Just hot off the press. And so my guess is there's going to have to be new codes and things set up for that, and manual for those to make sure we're meeting intent.
So those monies that are coded to system, if they go into a certain account or certain numbers attached to those, say,
On those grant monies, we set up special codes, special program codes for those revenues and expenditures. And
is the NIMSY a W? I didn't see anything. Have we realized any?
Some.
I didn't see any codes. but again, I could have searched, but I did not see.
I'll find out.
Is it 5,400 to the federal?
I'll check the policies and make sure that we are in compliance. That is a big,
The.
Okay, well, we can probably discuss this all night, but I'm gonna make a motion because we have to get this done by July first. I'm gonna make a motion to adopt the budget as amended this time.
I'll give a second.
Ladies and gentlemen. No, we
No, I said I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
have.
Aye.
thank you for the input.
And
You need to clarify, you're not speaking to.
Make a motion to adjourn the executive session pursuant to RSA 16.021. 3, 13, 2, and 1 by roll call vote. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we will meet at 8:20. 10 minutes.